All right, I wanted to make this video about getting rid of the clutch delay valve in a Honda Fit, specifically the GD3, which in the US that's 2007 and 2008. Other countries got it a couple years earlier. I will briefly touch on other years, but it's mainly about 2007 and 2008 Honda Fit and Honda Fit Sport clutch delay valve delete. The reason this is important to me, it's just a daily driver, but when I press the clutch, I want it to work. I find that the delay valve makes the clutch work incorrectly, regardless of the vehicle application. If you're racing it or driving it, doesn't matter. You got to get rid of this piece of shit. So what it is here is hydraulic fluid comes in on this line from the master cylinder. And then before it can make its way down to the slave cylinder to open the clutch, it has to first open this little diaphragm. And comes through the hole, out through the other hole. It's pretty simple. So you have a lot of options, actually, if you want to get rid of this thing. Let's start with the option I went with. So this is the line that comes off of the master cylinder, and that's the line that goes down to the slave cylinder. And stock, this line goes into the delay valve. And then this line comes out of the delay valve. So I took out the delay valve and this line, and I replaced it with this line that directly connects the master cylinder to the slave cylinder. This line can be had on Amazon for $12. There's also a brand name version of this line that you can get at your local auto parts store that runs $22. And it's probably better quality, but they told me it was like 3 days away, and Amazon was like, hey, we can have it to you $11.99 free next day shipping. So I took a risk and I went with the Amazon one. If you want the higher quality one, get the $22 version of this line. A couple things to note: this is not in the right place. I've got to move it before I finish, but I'm doing a couple other things. I'm going to get rid of all the old fluid. And so just the only thing to really note here is it does clip in to the old bracket, which is still unbolted. Like I said, I'm just making the video right now. But when you do put it back there and secure it, make sure there are no kinks in this line. Also, I bent the line coming out of the master cylinder. Do not bend this line. The reason I did was research, because I was exploring the possibility of connecting these two lines with nothing but a coupler, which it got really, really close, but I do not recommend unless you have an actual line bending tool. If you do have the tools for working on lines and doing flare fittings and stuff, you might actually be able to bend this and connect it with a coupler. But I would recommend you don't even try that. The only reason I did is because I wanted to know. It was a knowledge thing for me. But yeah, like I said, so I got to get this back there and make sure it doesn't kink. And it should actually be a little easier, because this isn't going to come out quite as far on yours if it's still in its factory configuration, because like I said, I bent this thing kind of straight to make it longer and make it reach this one a little bit better. Okay, so sorry, I made some notes to keep me on track. That is the Amazon. It's called the A Premium or Sunsong 2205384. The one at the auto parts store that was twice as much and probably better quality is the Brakeware clutch hydraulic hose. Brakeware's brand name. It is part number 79789. What this is it's a 12 millimeter female to 10 millimeter female hydraulic line. Another option is the Seb's Garage ripoff. I've always thought that was a ripoff from the first time that I saw it, because I have had custom hydraulic lines made. Being a mechanic, that is something that you have to do every now and then. The company that I use is called Les Hall Filter. Used to be called Oil Filter Service. They are in Portland, Oregon. But anyway, I knew from the first time I ever saw that thing that he was pricing it for 3 times as much as it costs to have one made in the USA by a reputable, custom manufactured, over-the-counter, made in USA. Is way less than he's charging. In fact, Les Hall quoted me $37. Now, the Seb's Garage line, it plugs directly into the master cylinder. And same with the one that I got the quote for $37, which Seb's might be an All-Star Performance. I'm not sure where he's ordering it. But All-Star Performance sells them for $25 if you can find it with the right fittings. Like I said, Les Hall will make it right there in the USA for $37, custom made. And that one is a 10 millimeter male line fitting to a 10 millimeter female, 12 millimeter male to 10 millimeter female, if you get this line as one piece, which really isn't necessary. Sure, it sounds good, but it's not one piece anyway, because this line goes down to the actual slave cylinder. So in my opinion, you're better off just buying the line that connects this line to this line. There is no need to pull this line out of the master cylinder and replace it with another line. Just buy this line. Or if you have the right equipment, and on the newer Honda Fits, I'm not sure which years, but on some of the newer Honda Fits, the clutch delay valve is a part of the master cylinder. And it's at such an angle that you can pull the line out of the master cylinder and you can drill down to connect these 2 holes. So basically, you can modify this delay valve in any manner to connect these holes so that the fluid flows in through this one and out through this one. Oh, and that's what the caps do. There's also a company that makes a clutch delay valve delete cap, and that's actually more reasonably priced for the amount of production cost that they have associated with that cap. But I still believe that it's an unnecessary option, but not necessarily a ripoff as far as price versus production goes. So you can buy that cap, and what that does is it removes this piece and it goes on there, and it's got a little goalie that connects them. So if you have machining equipment around, maybe a Dremel or a drill press or something, you can cut into this and just make a little valley right there. Just be sure, I'm thinking start at an 1/8 inch. It's probably more like a 1/4. The only thing is you want to make sure that you don't go far enough down to disturb that seat, because that's how it seals, is that flare fitting seat. Yeah, that's an option too. If you just want to modify the delay valve that's already in it, then you don't have to buy any parts. I actually don't have a Dremel right now. My last one broke, and all of my cutoff tools are just too big. I mean, I could cut this thing in half, but I don't have anything small enough currently to make a nice little smooth passageway right there. And that's the other thing too, is I would want it to be smooth. Like I said, yeah, so the line fitting comes into this, it goes out on a banjo fitting for some reason. But I just removed all of that and replaced it with that. And that is my recommendation. Also, the second you crack open a hydraulic line, anywhere on the vehicle, doesn't matter where it is, doesn't matter what you're doing, doesn't matter what you're replacing. The second you crack open a hydraulic line, you have to bleed the system. I'm going to replace the fluid altogether because it's kind of old, and the previous owner of this vehicle definitely ignored it. But that's not uncommon. If you bought your car used, just keep in mind that most people ignore pretty much everything except the motor oil. And in manual transmissions too, they like to ignore the transmission fluid. So I've already done a drain and fill, and despite Honda's recommendation, I use AMSOIL Synchro Mesh, and it absolutely shifts like butter. Alrighty, I think that's it. I hope I don't remember anything else, or I'm gonna have to edit the video. Oh yeah, and like I said, I think that one guy that makes them is a ripoff, and he makes ones for the newer cars too, and that looks like a ripoff as well. It looks like a $20 Amazon Civic Master cylinder with, like I said, another $20 hydraulic hose coming off of it. If you're going to go the route on any of these fits to do a Civic Master cylinder swap, I highly recommend you get a genuine Civic Master cylinder, even if it's from the junkyard. I will take a genuine OEM part from the junkyard over some garbage off Amazon any day of the week.